Today we're going to get started with closing this cab shield in. So I ended up getting the bottom on there the other night, and now we're going to put some pieces in to hold it from the inside. We're just going to lay some pieces going on the top of it backwards from the front to the back. We'll get those tacked in there, and then we'll start with running tacks all the way around the outside, and then we could start putting the sides and the front on. So I've got some pieces on the bench that is actually the same material as this here that we're going to go ahead and clean up, some pieces that I had left over. We'll get them laying in there so that it kind of holds the front, or the bottom rather, so it'll hold that up, and then we can get framing the rest of it in. Well, we are now ready to build out the tailgate. We've got the panels on between the posts. We've got the cab shield done. We ended up putting panels up in the cab shield area as well. Now, I haven't done one like this before. Usually we put our sheet metal on the outside, but with the sheet metal on the inside, built like the rest of the box, it leaves a spot for material to sit on that ledge. So that's why we built that out, putting a panel between the uprights on that. So what we have is a piece of 2x4 250 wall that I had on the metal rack next door. We've got to run the wire wheel over this, get that cleaned up, and this is what we're going to make our tailgate arms out of. We're going to use 2x4 quarter wall for the tailgate arms, and we're going to also use it on the bottom of the tailgate. And then we'll use 2x3 3/16 for the rest of the tailgate. The upright on the outside of the tailgate, the top bar, and the rail tube coming down the other side. Then we'll fit up form material like that on the inside of the gate to strengthen that. So we might as well go ahead and get this stuff cleaned up. This saw's been working pretty good on the stand here. So we'll get this cleaned up. I've got to drill a hole. We'll drill an 1.5-inch hole in the end of this for the tailgate arm. Drop our DOM tube in there, weld it, ream it out, and then that's what we'll use for our tailgate hinge. So we want to get things started here so that we can start framing this tailgate, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Well, we've got this tailgate all put together. We've got the sheet metal on there. Now we are working down through tacking the sheet metal to the framework of the gate. We're using tubes on the back so that we can push the center in. And then once we get all of the tacks done, then we'll go ahead and set it up on the back of the body here. So we'll go ahead and get all this tacked together, then we can get it up on there. Well, we've got the tailgate setting in place, and we went around and tack welded everything, the posts and the whole perimeter of the gate. And now we got it setting in place. What I'm gonna do is cut the pieces that go on the bottom, the tapered pieces. I've got to do those so that they can get those welded in. And then I'm gonna make the arms for the gate itself. We'll use a 2x4 tube for the arm, and then we're gonna have a 3/8 by 4 piece of flat bar for a gusset. So we better get cutting some metal so that we can keep that ahead of them guys while they're welding everything into place. Well, they've got the welding just about done on the gate here. Looks like Alex got a little spot right there on one post and another spot on the other, and then a panel down at the bottom. I have one arm in place on this left hand side, and I am, of course, look at that perfect product placement. Look at that, huh? I've got this one other arm ready to go here. I've got to ream out this hole here, and then I've got to cut the other end to cope it out so it can kind of wrap around the tailgate itself. Now we have a date on this tube here of November 4th, 2021. We had another tube. What the heck tube was it? Yeah, I guess that was that one. Another one that I seen earlier that had a date of, no, I guess that's the one I was thinking of. But that 2x4 tube was held over from a couple years ago. So yeah, the date on this one, I thought I seen a date on this too. We got made in the USA, February 20th, 2023. And then of course, we had some dates on some other materials that were put into this box that were made on March 1st, 2023. So that's pretty good. So the boys, they're working on this 8110. Andrew just left the shop. Andrew was helping Jared on this, and Jared's starting to put his new lines on. Do you think you remember where everything went?
I actually have no idea where everything went.
There's just, you know, as long as this end plugs into that end, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, just don't
it's all that matters. So got some new brake lines in place, which these brake lines are not stainless steel. So that flashlight, you know, the flashlight doesn't have a lot of magnetic power to it, but that is a steel line and there's no paint on it. So we'll have to sprinkle a little paint on there. But at any rate, that's what this project kind of looks like going back together. There was some John Deere fittings that we didn't have. We had Himiway make all the hoses for this, just because there was some odd ends, some long, what is this, a flat face? Yeah, long flat face fitting here. I thought there was, here's a long, this is a John Deere part. Take that back. But there was some other fittings that it was just going to take too long to source through weatherhead. So we had Himiway make these up. So I better get to coping out this tailgate arm to go on there now. You'll notice right up here, right on this top rail, I'm gonna point to it with the tape measure. you'll notice a grinder mark right there. Well, I've got a confession to make. Usually I hinge my tailgates at 42 inches. I forgot that truck 18, I hinged it at 48 because we used 4-foot sheet metal coming down through the box, and I ran the post on 2-foot centers. There wasn't really a way to do this without screwing around with, you know, cutting a 3-footer and a 1-footer and whatever else like that. If I would have left this post at 42 inches, I would have had another one right here, so there would have been 2 posts close together. So we ended up hinging this gate at 48 inches, which the problem that is created by that is if someone leaves the tailgate up going down the road, we are going to be over 14 foot tall by the time we are 4 foot, 7 foot, and then the height of the chassis on the truck. So I've made them in the past at 42 inches. Therefore, if this truck is humming down the road with the tailgate open, which I've seen that happen before. You've passed our trucks on the road with the tailgates open before, and you're like, hey, hey, hey.
Yeah. And they
So yeah, they wave back. So they have a habit of putting the box all the way down, and then they wait until the box is all the way down before they put the gate all the way down. I can't get it through these guys' head. Once you pull 3 foot away from the pile, both switches in the down position and then go. So we are coming down to the end of this project. I've got to put the grain spout on, the locks. We've got to put a ladder on each side, and I've got to make some brackets up for the cab shield. So we got Scott here. This is the guy that we get all our paint from, so he's going to tell me what paint I should use and shouldn't use. So we better get with him so he can get things ordered and get on out of here. So the girls have the sheet metal all welded into place. I've got both arms welded on. I've got to put a gusset on there yet. I'm currently working on the grain spout right now. I've just got to make up the handle yet for it. We've got the door cut in along with the spout extension. While I'm working on that, the girls are working on getting a ladder, putting the ladder rungs on each side of the body. I've got them going on the left side here now, and they've got to weld the rungs here on the right hand side. The boys are working on this 8110. Andrew's doing a little bit of sand in here so we can get some paint on some of this, and the other guys are doing a service on this C5. We got some rubber going on it. We had a couple of tires that weren't in the greatest shape, and we didn't have any used tires to put on it. I bought these tires from Syracuse Retreaders. We haven't run these before. They're what are they, a Master Track, Nathan? A Master Track something or other, and they are an open shoulder tire. These are virgin tires, so in other words they haven't been capped before, or capped yet. That is a new tire, and then once we wear these out, we'll cap them, and then what we generally run for a cap, I can show you these tires on this other side, is this square tread. It's a Goodyear cap. These work pretty good. They got an adequate amount of tread to them, and we generally cap these casings as many times as we can before we end up throwing them out. What are are you laughing about?
Thanks for laughing at him. No, we're good.
You're all good?
Yeah. One of those days, you know.
Jason gets awful giddy.
Oh yeah.
Poor guy turned 40 years old yesterday.
Too old.
Too old. Yeehaw.
No good.
Yeah. Well, we've got our grain door all done, and the girls are just getting done putting their ladder rungs on. I gotta say, that looks pretty good. They wanted to build this for a shorter person to be able to go up and down the side of the trucks. Usually I would put like maybe 4 rungs on there, and there's 2, 4, 6, there's 7 on there. I would try to split the difference and use a minimal amount of material, but they actually have it so you can climb up and down this nicely. And they're telling me that it looks better than the ones that I've done, so I don't know what to say about that. I unhooked that ground. Did you hook it back up? Okay. Sarah said since she's going to be loading trucks with a grain buggy, he's got to get in and out, climb up the side. She wanted a ladder designed for herself. So they got the bottom rung. Yeah, that's a little different than the other ones. The other ones are kind of butt welded in between the posts. And that one we had to kind of put down there a little bit, just so that when you come off the fuel tank of the truck, you've got somewhere to start. So, yeah. Now the next thing we have to do, they're going to work on putting brackets on the front of the cab shield so that we can put the tarp housing, so that we can mount, so that the tarp housing has something to bolt to. So I've got some plate that I'm cutting now so that they can get that welded on to the front of this cab shield. Well, Alex is just, what do you got? One more weld left? Yeah. She's got one more little gusset to weld in there, and these brackets they made to hold the tarp. Gussets for the tarp. So they ended up cutting 1.5 by 3 rectangle tube on a 45 to come up underneath them gusset plate, or them mountain plates there, and then the tarp housing will set on top of those flat bar pieces that come out. So I have to finish up with the tailgate. I got to mount the locks in underneath, and then we can let the clamps go and yeah, get this thing ready to paint, right? All right, we are just about done with this. We've got the tailgate just about done. All that we have left to do is put the tailgate locks on. Alex is welding down little hose holder brackets. We've got to do this side. Then we have to jump over onto the other side of the body and put a couple on the right hand side here. We have the old spring assemblies that went to the tarp on the box that came off of, or the box that we're replacing with this one. We've got those to put on yet, and then all we need to do after that is to cut our holes for the marker lights. Then we can wire wheel this, clean it up the rest of the way, and prime and paint this. So she's got those tack welded into place. And what they are is just a little bracket that holds the hoses in place. These guys here, they come in a kit. These are for 3/8 hose. Sarah's grinding down the turnbuckle tailgate latches. We've got to weld them on, and then we're also going to put pneumatic tailgate locks on there, and that's what these brackets here are for. We'll have to cut a hole in the back of that taillight panel to get this guy to go in there, and then this will be hooked up to a pneumatic cylinder, and we can lock this tailgate with pneumatic locks, and then we'll have the mechanical locks on there for safety for when we're hauling grain. We don't have to worry about the pneumatic cylinder unlatching the tailgate. So that's where we are at right now. So we are almost done. We've got it lifted up on the jack stand so that we could crawl in underneath the body in order to do the pneumatic locks. Well, that is just about gonna do it for the welding on this box. She's welding up the top side of the mechanical lock saddle and the pneumatic lock saddle itself. Now there is a safety in there, so we don't have to worry about the forklift dropping. So she's got this one to do on this side, and then she's got one to do over there. So every box that we build, we put the date on it up front, just so that when I look back on one of these silage boxes, I could say I know when that was built, because the date's on there. So 4/20/23. The girls even sign their name, or they put their initials in the headrail here. So we've got Sarah Grace Horgan and Alexandra Marie Horgan, and then Alex's initials are the same as mine, so she put ×2. So that ought to do it, I guess, for this video. I am going to run around it with a wire wheel, get all of the little boogers cleaned off of it, clean up some of the weld spatter. Then we'll throw a coat of primer on it, and then we'll go ahead and get some paint on there as well. We have to cut the holes in for the marker lights as well. So with that being said, that is going to do it for this segment anyways, and we will be sure and come back at you with the final I wouldn't call it a fit up, but the final part of this box will be the painting, and then we'll have to paint it, get the lights wired into it, and then we can of course get it mounted on the truck. So that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching, folks, and we will catch you at the next video.